evening and welcome to ELOsoFumarTakes. This is our 294th take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. Happy Father's Day, everyone. We've got a wonderful another Father's Day show prepared for you with a great tradition that we've kept going years on end. We've got another special guest for you as well tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show. I'm looking so forward to it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in on this very special Dad's Day of June 16th, 2024. But before we get to formal introductions of our guests of honor, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible. And that, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate is delighted to announce the return of the much-anticipated Liga Privada Unico Series Year of the Rat, available exclusively at Drew Diplomat retailers nationwide. Kicking off its annual spring appearance with a fresh batch available at the beginning of last month, the Year of the Rat is celebrated for its rich tradition and deep connection to the story of the Florida Panthers' 1996 Stanley Cup Finals run. The Year of the Rat cigar commemorates the legendary rat trick performed by Scott Mellenby, which has become a symbol of good fortune and tenacity both on and off the ice, capturing the spirit of one of hockey's most memorable tales. Jonathan Drew, founder and president of Drew Estate, shares his thoughts. The premium cigar industry has a culture of storytelling at the brand and personal levels, but it should never override the fundamentals of quality, consistency, and flavor profile. The Year of the Rat was blended in Nicaragua shortly after the release of the infamous Dirty Rat. This year's Year of the Rat features a luxurious dark Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, flavorful Brazilian binder, and a robust blend of Nicaraguan and Honduran fillers. The cigars are meticulously crafted in a 5.5 by 46 Corona Gorda size and are known for the distinct fantail head. So check out your Drew Diplomat retailers today for the spring release of the Year of the Rat. And welcome, everyone. If you are tuned in on Facebook Live or catching us later on YouTube, or if you happen to be listening to us on podcasts, wherever you happen to listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure you download, subscribe, and review tonight's show. And as always, if you are listening to us wherever you listen to podcasts, is brought to you by Grand Habano Cigars. Grand Habano Cigars, honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. And thanks to our good friends at Grand Habano for sponsoring tonight's audio coverage. So without further ado, everyone, we welcome tonight's special guests, sponsored by United Cigars. Smoke one today and start living United. Misters Tom Lazuka and Michael Cappellini of Asylum Cigars and Toscano Cigars. Gentlemen, happy Father's Day. How are we doing tonight?
Doing well. Happy Father's Day, boys.
Gentlemen, how are we? Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. All is good here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Guys, I'm so thankful for you all being on tonight. Thank you so much. As we got through some technical difficulties and we're able to get this up and running. So I don't know about you guys, but I need a cigar. So it looks like Tom's already got one. Michael, are you smoking with us tonight?
I already have it lit. The Master Age number 4.
All right, perfect. Well, as is tradition on my show, I always have my guests pick my cigars, and so because I have two of you guys now, Tom's done this a couple of years for us in a row and everything, but I have some pretty unique offerings from both of y'all's companies and everything. So this is really exciting. So Michael, I'd like you to do me the honor. I actually have a Master Age pack here as well.
Nice.
That I've been saving up for us, and nice. I've got some Toscanelos. My favorite, the Aroma and Anis.
Aniche,
yes. And a cigar that I just will not let go. And I am determined at some point or another to share it with Tom. Is an oldie but a goodie, the old Wynwood Hills Unhinged.
There we go.
Last from the past there. And then I also have some of it, the recent offerings. I have a cold brew, an 867 Midnight Oil, and an Auntie as well.
Very nice.
All from Asylum Cigars. So, Michael, it's completely up to you. I mean, I've got plenty of cigars here to smoke, and I certainly will be enjoying them this evening. So, but without
awesome.
So what's
awesome.
what am I lighting up first here?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about from the Toscano side, do the number 4. Number 4 is killing it. It's great. It's a great stick. It's what I'm smoking now. So, have you smoked it yet? Did we smoke it together at PCA? Can't remember.
We did.
Yeah, yeah. Smoke that one if you want. It's a hell of a stick.
Fantastic. I will enjoy that. Perfect. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, gentlemen, I know that you guys faced a lot more adversity than me today, as far as being able to show up and do this show. Both traveling from the West Coast,
Yeah.
to be home with you guys' families and be home before you kind of do it all over again. I thought this was interesting. I know we're going to be talking a lot about Father's Day in general, but like what what's probably in the year. I mean, Tom, I know you've been doing this longer than Michael, but what's the most significant special occasion that you've missed for work?
Oh, for work, geez. I don't know. Special occasions, I pretty much will fly, drive, walk, take a train, whatever I got to do to make sure I'm home for those, even if I got to fly out the same day. I don't really think there's much that I've missed really through the years. I mean, I've missed some baseball games and football games, but not too many. When my kids were in sports and playing and doing all that stuff, during the week was a little tougher, but all their graduations and major stuff, I've been able to make it home for.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, last year was my first Father's Day, and Angelo was like 8 days old, so I'm very new at this. But the one thing that I did miss this year, and it wasn't because of work, it was because I was in Italy. Was my wife's first Mother's Day. Now I made it up to her well before, I left, but I'm just waiting for the payback for that one.
What do you mean? You didn't take her with you?
No, she's a principal. She's a principal. She's a principal, so she couldn't come.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, don't worry. I'm waiting for the hard time. I'm still, I'm waiting.
Figuring out that it might be coming back to you.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely, But no, other than that, I mean, listen, it's kind of crazy how the conversation happens, and I'm sure both of you, Bear and Tom, you kind of face this with the travels that we do, and all the conversations you have. A lot of people, especially with newer people in the industry, they'll say, make sure that family's always number one for you, because you just see so many things happen to so many people in the industry, because you get so tied up with work, etc. So I've taken that to heart. I really have. I mean, family's number one. Toscano as a company is really good about that too. They care. So let's just hope the streak of me always being able to be here when I need to be here is continues forward. There
you go. Awesome. Well, that's good. I was hoping for some difficult answers and stuff, but I'm glad that's really actually really encouraging that neither of you have actually missed anything significant with this job and everything. So that's pretty cool.
The closest thing I could really, as I think about, would be like weddings for a family member or something like that. You know what I mean? Where sometimes you just can't be back for them and do it. But when it comes to immediate, my children, I've tried to make sure I was there for, everything that I could be,
Yeah, you wouldn't miss your son's wedding, so that's good.
Yeah. Neither one are married yet, so I think I'm good for a while.
All right.
Well, it's to be determined on me. It depends on who Angelo's marrying. If I don't like her, I might miss it. I don't know.
There you go.
We'll see how that goes.
Let it ride a little bit. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that will take us into tonight's major point, as always, which is brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars. From the fertile lands of Honduras, George Rico and his family have put together the very best vintages for you. That's right, you, the cigar smoker. From value-based hits like the Corojo No. 5 to the award-winning 20th anniversary to special projects like Zulu, Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making pinnacle cigars for the market. Culture, tradition, quality, premium handcrafted Gran Habano Cigars. So, All right, gentlemen. Well, Father's Day is here. Tom has blessed us once again for another year in a row, and I feel bad. I want to publicly apologize to Oliver Nouveau who's joined us the last couple of years. Tom, um, I completely misunderstood him. I thought he wasn't going to be available this year, and so I foolishly left him off the invite list, and that was just a awful thing of me. I don't know what I heard because I mean, but apparently I heard wrong. So, but he was kind enough. He'll be joining later this month on another show, so that'll be good. But I felt bad about that. But Tom, thanks again for doing this. You come back every year, and we get to talk about Father's Day with another dad on the show, and it's been a lot of fun. So thank you so much for keeping up the tradition.
No, it's my pleasure to be on with you, Bear.
Well, I was going to say I see what both of you guys all did today, but it seemed like flying was the order of the day and everything. But I would also Michael, like to welcome you to the fraternal organization of fatherhood, becoming one.
Thank you.
In the last year. That's fantastic.
Thank you. He just turned a year last week. It's insane how fast that went by.
That has to be I mean, you have to look back and think, man, like, holy cow, like where did the time go, right?
It's crazy. It's absolutely it's I mean, it's and just to, you know, everybody says to you when I remember when Holly first announced that she was pregnant, everybody's like, oh, wait till you see how fast the first year goes, and then before you know it, he's 18, and I can't even fathom, you know. And you think you know what love is, you know, you love your family, you love your parents, you love your siblings, you love your grandparents, and then you love your wife, you love your, you know, your significant other, whatever. But there's no love like a kid. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unreal.
The way that they look at you, you know, and Tom can definitely vouch for this. I'm sure, like as obviously as they'll get older, Michael, they'll drive you crazy.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure they are. I'm sure in the first year you've had some moments, but man, if they look at you the right way, it's like shit. Everything melts. It's just crazy. So
I had one of those moments today. I walked in the door and he just looked up at me when he realized I walked in the door, and he literally like sprinted over to me and then just put his arms up and you know, wanted to come up. You know, it was like, it just brings a tear to your eye. It's great. It's unbelievable. It's the best feeling in the world.
That's great. Tom, I know you were traveling. Did your sons? I know they're a little bit older and everything. Did they send you any text messages of love or any calls or any?
Oh yeah, for sure. They both called me this morning. You know, I was you know, my youngest is you know, he's 19, but he's out in Maine being a camp counselor, and so he left about a week and a half ago. Yeah, he'll be gone for the whole summer, and so I got to talk with him a little bit about what's going on. The kids don't arrive till Thursday, so he's like, well, I'm a certified lifeguard now, and he's like, I've been you know, cleaning out the cabins and getting everything ready. So he's like, I think the highlight is he is whacked 26 mouses in this week, you know, getting the old log cabins ready for the kids. He said he had to be the exterminator, I guess. So so he said, yeah, I've been running around doing that every day, checking them, and you know, doing lifeguards, getting all kinds of like camp training. This is the first time he's done something like this, so he's pretty excited. You know, he's enjoying it up there. And then, you know, my older son he'll be 22 here in a couple months, and so he called this morning too. So I didn't get a chance to see them today because, like I said, I didn't land till about 7. And you know, I was fortunate. My parents live close to the airport, so went and had my mom had dinner for me and my dad, and got to hang out with my mom and dad for a little while, and then
nice.
Jumped in a car and drove home and got ready for this bad boy, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, Mom, sorry, Dad. Happy Father's Day, Pop, but I got a show to do. I gotta be on.
I tell them they just said, how do I get on and watch? So hopefully they're watching.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, no, I said wouldn't miss it, man. This is our tradition. I don't know how many is this, 4 or 5 years in a row now?
This is the fifth year. This is the
Yeah.
fifth year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So,
Yeah.
Pretty
And
cool.
it just happened. It just kind of it was just coincidental, Michael. Like I happened to ask Tom if he would do a show, and I threw out a date, and he's like, "That's Father's Day," and I was like, "Well, that's cool. We could talk about that, you know, in addition to some other stuff."
Yeah.
And it was a great. It ended up great time, and then we've had you know other dads on since and stuff. So,
I love
but
that.
I thought it'd be great to have you on this year, just because, like you said, it's the first one. You know, I mean, like you said, he was born just a couple of days before, you know, when they for your first one, but
It's like, it really is my first one. It's my
Yeah.
first one because you know it was insane when he was like the first one last year. I don't even remember what happened. I really don't. You know, it was just passed within seconds. You know.
I actually had a text message conversation with you, so you weren't too delirious. You know, I asked you what, you know, what was your first Father's Day, everything you wanted it to be, and you said everything and more. So,
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah, that is right. See, I do
Uh,
now. Now that you said that, I do remember that. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's the cool thing about this industry too. Sorry, this is a little off topic, but like, man, the text messages that you get from people, and even people that you wouldn't even expect them from, just like, you know, when Angela was born or something happens like that. That's the beauty of this industry, man. So many good people, you know, reaching out, you know, congratulating us. It was really it's and the random gifts that would show up. Like, what the hell? Well, why do we deserve that? You know, it's an amazing thing. Like, people are so good.
well, actually, that kind of that was a question I was going to ask. I think that is what the industry is. I mean, for the three of us who weren't necessarily born into it, like a lot of the folks and friends that we know, like, you know, like Tom's partner Christian, who was born into this, and
Right.
you know, and other good folks in this industry. It's very you know, as family oriented as it is, you would think that it would be a lot more cliquish, and I suppose there still
Yep.
are, you know,
Yep.
factions, if you will, but like, it's still a very close knit industry. You know, I mean,
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a list of people that I'm like, these two people can never be on a show together. Like,
Right.
but that list is it's so much shorter than the other side of it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I can't, you know, the amount of shows that I've done similar to the one that we're doing tonight, where I've just had two random folks on, you know, it's just, and it works. It works. You know,
Yeah.
there's this deep
Yeah.
connection.
Well, it's phenomenal. And even yesterday, for example, you know, after the event in California, there were quite a few manufacturers there, and we all got together at a fire pit at the hotel. And you know, we know each other, but didn't know each other. By the end of the night, we all were like, but it was great. You know what I mean? Everybody had a drink. We were having fun. We were exchanging stories. Like, I don't know how many industries actually have that connection. I really don't. I don't know if it's a thing. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know, but I just and maybe I have a bias, but I really do feel that the cigar industry itself, because you know, I always say, you've heard me say it before, right? That the cigar industry brings people from all walks of life to the table. Doesn't matter where you're from, how much money you have, what your beliefs are. We're all one at the table. And I really feel that to be the case. And last night kind of proved that, because we had people sitting at the fire that have been in the business for 45 years. And then there's me that's been in since 2017, you know, and I felt like I was one of them.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know how that exists, but you know, anyway, I don't want to monopolize the time. Poor Tom's probably sitting there like, you know.
oh, you're good. You know, I mean, the reality is, you know, I've been at this for 23, almost 24 years now, and you know, it becomes your road family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're away from our family so much with the business. You know, just the demands of the business are what they are. We all chose to do this, right? So
Yep.
it does take a lot of time away from family and friends and things like that. And as the years go on, you build really good relationships, and the people that like I said, that you met last night, you know, you'll be with some of those people 20 years from now,
Yep.
God willing, and going, man, remember when we were sitting by the fire, we met the first
It's
time, you know what I
crazy.
mean?
Yeah.
And so, we go on the road, and it doesn't matter where you're at in the world, right? I've done events in Europe and in England and wherever with JD and uh, Tony Gomez and all these different people throughout the years, and Wani Lopez and different people, and we're just kind of like a road family. We're all
Yep.
traveling. We cross paths all the time, and
Yep.
so it's kind of gives you that semblance of home, even though you're not actually home.
It's so true. And that's the one thing that I don't think people realize in our business and any sales position, but I think especially ours, because like ours is really a boots to the ground business, even from from the brand ambassador's point, like, you got to be on the road quite a bit.
Yeah.
And everybody looks at our positions like, oh, but you get to stay in beautiful hotels. You get to, yeah, that's great. You sleep in your bed and that's it. I don't, as long as the bed's clean, I don't care if it's the Waldorf or whatever. It's you're sleeping in the bed. Everything else is you're out on the road, and you're like you said it, Tom. You hit it on the head, right? You're away from your family. You're away from your friends. You're away from your home. You're away from all the things that you love. So to have that connection, I think I never thought about it that way, Tom. That kind of just opened up my
Yeah.
thought process on it.
Well,
Right? So
well, my
thank you for that.
my running joke all the time is when I'm doing events, I said, well, they're like, God, you gotta love it. And, you're on the road. I said, yeah. I said, listen, I'm the guy that has a memory foam bed that doesn't remember me, because I'm never in it.
I might use that.
Yeah.
I might
Yeah.
steal that from you. I really might.
Yeah.
Nice. I think what's really great about this, we were talking about this industry is a family into its own and everything. And I was just curious, because of the theme, obviously, for today with Father's Day and everything. Like, have you guys experienced a father-esque moment? Whether this could be you with maybe again, Michael, I know you're a little bit more junior to the industry than Tom is, but have you had a father-esque moment where maybe you were talking to someone who was just coming up in the industry, or is someone older, or was kind of mentoring you, and you kind of had that father-esque moment? I'm just curious if what I'm sure you've had a few, perhaps, but what comes to
I
mind?
mean, 100%, man. And I won't mention any names, but there's been quite a few guys throughout the years who have reached out for advice, or just sit down because they want to grow in the business. And like I've told most of the guys, it's just, listen, bide your time, man. If you do a good job and you sell, because a lot of guys want to, they're sales reps and they want to be a sales manager. They want to move into a higher role, and like I said, if you're good at selling cigars, those opportunities will come, man. If you go out and hit the road and do your job, but be patient. And, I've had that conversation with a number of guys through the years, and, I've had those kind of relationship with some of my sales reps, and who are young people coming into the business, and we mentor them, and, they're our family, so, yeah, there's quite a few guys who, I think I've been in that situation with, and have had real life conversations about stuff completely outside of our business.
Mm-hmm. Michael, what about you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
100. Yeah, Bear, 100%. It's funny. There have been. I'm fortunate because I didn't come from the tobacco industry either, so I kind of I had when I first got in, I had a lot of people talking to me, trying to tell me what to do, what not to do, etc. And then there was probably 10 or 12 guys that I got really close to, that I would listen to, that all kind of had the same thought track with different discussions, but thought track. And it all kind of clicked with me too. It was the same morality that I had, etc. And it just kind of blew up from there. But one in particular, and again, I won't name names, but one in particular has really helped make me who I am today, and eventually, I'm sure if he's listening to the show, he knows who he is. He's been unbelievable for me, and just somebody that I'll always be grateful for. Whether whatever God holds in hand for me in the future, whether it be cigar industry or whatever, just as a professional, it's been really interesting to learn from him in different assets. And on the flip side, it's been interesting because I am new to the industry, but I also have had people reach out to me asking me advice on specific things and stuff too when it comes to the position that I hold, whether it be brand ambassadorship. How do you get into specific accounts? The talk track, how to use different talk tracks with different personalities and stuff. So it's been a crazy road for me in this industry. It really has. And it's been my favorite position that I've ever held in my professional life since I started in the professional realm.
Yeah, I don't do this full time. But I there's not a part of me that would not trade it. Like I would find a way to still be a part of this industry. If suddenly podcasts were made illegal or something like that, I would figure out a way to do something with the cigar industry, just because it's fantastic. I mean, I've had Coop, who I partner with obviously on Cigar Coop Primetime Special Edition, and been part of the coalition that we've made up together. He's been an incredible mentor for me, and I wouldn't say it's more of a father-son dynamic. I do look up to him, but it's more like a brother dynamic and everything. But he's been a great mentor for me and everything too. But I'll tell you where I haven't had nearly as many interactions with him, but every single time he has some kind of sage advice, I feel like it is very, very fatherly. And he has this, I've said this time and time again, and I don't know if Tom, I'm pretty sure you maybe you guys have or have not had the pleasure, but Tom, you've been around long enough. I mean, have you met or spent time with Manuel Casado?
I have met him a number of times. I haven't spent a lot of time with him, but I definitely have met him a number of times.
So I've said this before. Michael, have you ever met or spent any time with him?
I've met him. I can't say I've spent time.
Okay. If you guys ever get into a conversation with me, I want you guys to prove I want to prove this point with you. He will make you feel like he has traveled from wherever to specifically come to that moment to be with you. He has this uncanny ability. He does it every single time, and he always has this wonderful. He'll always have some wonderful sage advice for me. It never ceases to amaze me. And there's a lot of folks like that, but his always stands out because it's his personality, I think, where he just has this infectious ability to just make you feel like you're the only person in the world that matters at the moment. And
yeah,
there's a lot of people in the industry that are really gifted that way. But his is, I think, it's just absolutely unparalleled. It's insane. So
yeah, there are a lot of people that bear, to your point, there's a lot of people that there's a difference between somebody saying, "How are you?" and somebody looking at you and saying, "How are you?" And I think that there really are a lot of people in our industry that look at you and want to know how you are when they ask that question.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting take on that. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Tom, what about you? I mean, you've been working with, I think you probably, this has been my observation with your relationship with Christian. It's more of that brotherly dynamic, but I mean, have you had a lot of moments with his father, or with anyone else in the family that it kind of would mirror a more father-esque type of relationship?
I mean, Christian's father doesn't leave Honduras too much. I mean, he's there a lot. So, I've spent a lot of time down there over the years, and with Christian and his father. But the relationship has mostly been me and Christian. I mean, obviously through the years, even at Camacho, his father was always in Honduras, and so that relationship with Christian, because we're the same age. I think I'm 7 months older than he is. I know he looks older than me, but you know, we're only 7 months apart.
That's why I
but,
said brotherly dynamic. You know, that's
yeah,
what it's so.
you know, our you know, our children are all in between each other. You know, I mean, his first son Christian was born, and then a year later, my first son was born. Then he had Julio. Then I had Nolan. Then he had Santi, and so they're all like a year apart, right? So all our boys are right close. So we've kind of, you know, we've gone through so much of our life experiences together. You know, so it's a relationship of really, you know, of love and like best friends. You know, like, you know, we have our business thoughts and that kind of stuff, but we've always helped each other and supported each other. And you know, Christian has always been very kind to, you know, he's truly my mentor in the business. You know, I've been with their family for 21 years, and working, you know, between Camacho and then Davidoff, and then starting the Asylum and the CLE brands together. So, you know, I've watched brands grow. We built one together, and you know, they were fortunate enough to sell that brand, but the family kept the farms, and you know, we were fortunate enough to start this brand and Asylum and CLE and Aroa, and continue to grow. And um, you know, one of the gentlemen that we had in the beginning was funny. We you know, we had Sal Fontana, you know, and he was Christian's real mentor to the sales side of things and being on the road. And you know, so I got to spend some time with Sal, and you know, Sal's you know, was in it till he was 86 years old and was selling almost till the day he died. You know, he was in the hospital in hospice, and you know, he's calling Lou Rothman and those guys going, you know, literally, you know, and Sal was good. He knew, he's like, I lived a good life. He's like, I'm ready, kid. And, but you know, Sal had so many, we call them Salisms, you know, and just how his approach was. And, you know, he would just say things like, Tom, it's got to be consistent. It can be consistently good or consistently bad. Just make consistent cigars, you know? And but and there's a lot of truth into what Sal was. You know, Sal was a sales guy, and you know, so he was great to work with and learn from. And you know, with Christian, we've kind of learned together. You know, I mean, we've been in this so long together, and doing it, and through building companies and transitioning, and then building new ones. You know, we've had a ton of experience together, so it's I think we both learn from each other. And you know, things that he would think would never work, and you know, vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, he's got so much knowledge with tobacco and just business sense and building the company and operating. You know, so we're a good yin and yang to the manufacturing and the sales side.
That's awesome. Well, I'm about to light up the second half of the Master Age number 4. I went traditional, Michael. I cut it in half in the middle,
Nice.
and I'm lighting up the second. The first half was fantastic, and then I'll light up an Asylum here in just a few moments. But as we kind of go through that, what Tom, what did you light up? What are you smoking?
So this is a cigar that actually isn't in the marketplace. This is just a cigar that you know, we had blended, and you know, we go down to the factory quite a few times a year, and it's just something I kind of make for myself. We haven't made it into a cigar yet, and but it's just something that I really enjoy smoking. So I had the factory make me a couple thousand of them and send them to my house. So I just travel with them. It's just it's a cigar maybe I'll launch at some point in a year or two. But it's just a blend. I tend to like, you know, fuller body cigars. So it's just something we kind of tweaked down at the factory, and while we were kind of making some other blends, this was one of the blends that we didn't launch, but it's one that I truly enjoy. And so it's just my own personal kind of cigar
You
that
did
I
this to
smoke.
us last year, Tom. You were like smoking some prototype too as well. So like,
Yeah, yeah.
this is like doing some research. We're still working, even though we're having fun here tonight. So on Father's Day.
Yeah.
Oh,
This one, like I said, this is just a a cigar that I enjoy, and it's, you know, it's a 46 by 6. It's something, you know, Asylum's not really known for. But you know, we get such a label as the big ring gauges, but you know, we do make smaller sizes, and I just travel with these. I hand them out to people on occasion, and let them know. And so far, everyone wants to buy it already, and I'm like, no, it's not for sale. It's just the cigar that I enjoy right now, and maybe someday we'll bring it to market. You know.
So I was gonna ask this question, but I didn't want to put y'all on the spot about when's the last time you smoked a Toscano, Tom, and what time is the last time you smoked an Asylum, Michael. I didn't want to put y'all on the spot there, but I wanted to bring up the gauges. So what's the smallest ring gauge that you've smoked this year, Tom?
A Lancero.
Okay, so like a 38.
So yeah, 38 by
Okay.
7. Yeah, yeah.
All
So
right.
we, you know, those we're seeing kind of a resurgence in those. Our Asylum 13 Nicaragua Lanceros are, since we put them in the smaller boxes now, a lot more accounts have brought them in, and they're doing great for us. So, you know, it's good to have some traditional sizes. I'm not truly a Lancero guy. I like something a little bigger than that. But you know, we're getting a lot of good feedback on the Lanceros again, because you know, the box size is a lot more manageable now since we did the packaging rechange.
So no more 99 Lanceros in a box. Is that what we're saying?
The 99 problems is now just 25.
There you go. Just 25 problems, much more manageable.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like when our kids will get older, Tom, and we'll kick one out of the house eventually. He'll go from 99 problems down to 25 or 50. But
Oh, you would think, but no, it doesn't happen.
no, gosh, not even false hope. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
No.
Michael, what about you? What's the largest ring gauge that you've smoked this year, Michael?
Oh God. Well, it's tough outside of Toscano. It's always a weird a weird feeling in the hand, but I don't know. I think well, that's a good question. What did I smoke the other day? It was a box press. I can't remember what it was. It was a box press though. Willie Morante gave it to me 2 nights ago when we were in California. I can't remember what it was, but that was for this year. That was the biggest cigar I smoked outside of
54,
Toscano.
54, 56.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh
yeah,
man,
something like that.
Well, don't worry, Michael. We'll exchange addresses. We'll get you like a 990 or something to, we'll get you pumped up, bro. Don't worry.
Oh,
I'm ready. I'm ready. No, it's so funny though, because I have a humidor filled with, all the different kinds of cigars, from all the different manufacturers. It's not that I don't smoke them, I do, but I'm just so used to smoking Toscano. It's just like, it's habitual. I just go right for the Toscano cigars. That's just what I'm used to smoking. So, but I do enjoy, and you have to, as a brand ambassador, you have to know what's out there, right? So I do smoke outside of Toscano. I do smoke other manufacturers' cigars. I love. I'm a Maduro guy, like your side. I heard you say that you like a full-bodied cigar, so I tend to go more Maduro than anything. One of my favorite cigars outside of Toscano is the San Lontano Box Press. I absolutely adore that cigar. I think it's really flavorful, and I do like the box press, which is pretty surprising for me because it's a complete opposite from a Toscano. Like, I don't know if you can get more opposite other than a 9x90. I don't know if anything's more for Toscano, but I adore that cigar. So, I mean, listen, it's like I said, there's so much to choose from in our industry, and it's such a fun thing to do to sit and I don't know, Tom, I don't know if you know, but like I do pairings. Like, that's one of my biggest parts of my job when I do the events and stuff. So it's always fun when I'm sitting in my lounge, which is where I am right now in my garage. To the behest of my wife, I converted half my garage into a Toscano lounge.
Yeah.
And when I'm not pairing Toscano, I'll take a random cigar. I won't even look at it. I'll just take a random cigar from my humidor and just do the pairing with it too. So it's a lot of fun to just kind of play with things that way. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because every cigar is a piece of art. Every cigar, a lot of love goes into every cigar that's made, and it's you know, everyone has its own different portfolio, flavor profile, etc. And it's just really neat. I wish people would start seeing it that way too. You know what I mean? Everybody just thinks it's a pile of tobacco, but there's so much more that goes into every cigar that's rolled.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What is the Mike? What is the? Have you ever smoked like a 60 gauge, 70 gauge cigar? Have you ever gotten anything
Yeah,
that big? Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Tom knows this. I'm not a big gauge guy either, so I'm not putting you on the spot here about.
No. I mean, it's been forever, and I think I did it because somebody gave me one, and I just didn't want to be rude. And it wasn't that I didn't want to smoke it. I just, you know, again, I'm just used to smoking the smaller ring gauges with Toscano, but it was an enjoyable cigar. It's not like I don't. It's just not something I'm used to. That's all.
No, absolutely. I think what's really I think one of the more recent projects that you've done, Tom, is kind of it's sort of in the foray. It doesn't use fire cured tobacco per se, but it is a very unique offering from you. The Cool Brew that was released last year. Tell us a little bit that this is a coffee flavored cigar. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, it's really unique. Like, tell us a little bit about that process and why you felt like it kind of fell into the Asylum portfolio when you guys released it.
Yeah, I think, you know, in general, I think the Asylum brand is pretty flexible, right? We're not kind of pigeonholed into any one thing per se when it comes to different types of cigars. You know, obviously we're known for big ring gauge, but the you know, getting into the flavored segment basically was just something that, you know, Christian was like, you know, he's like, listen, I know nothing about it. You know what I mean? But if you think it'll work, let's do it, you know? So it was one of those things where, you know, we see such I think, and I don't know how accurate the number is, but I had heard that flavors are now 30% of the premium cigar market. You know, it's
Wow.
a big number. And so, you know, for me, as on my side, I'm like, listen, why would I not want to be in that side of the business? When it's such a big segment of the business. So, you know,
Absolutely.
the Cool Brew itself was a cigar that you know, I personally, you know, went down and blended and worked with it and you know, I wanted something that wasn't overpowering with mint, but it's very got the cocoa notes to it and chocolate notes. And you know, the idea was to make it tastes like it sounds. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it gives you those mocha notes. It gives you the that cooling kind of sensation on your in your sinuses and in your palate when you smoke it. So it's a really nice blend. And you know, we tried to get it off last year, but it didn't ship until March of this year. So it's really this year's release. It didn't come in until you know, right before the trade show. It finally arrived, and it's been doing fantastic for us. It's really
Awesome.
a lot of people who are non-flavored smokers are like, dude, that's pretty good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, I don't know
Yeah.
about smoke it, you know, all the time, but definitely if I was going to smoke it, I would smoke it again for sure. So it's
Yeah.
been you know, it's been a really good addition, and it's really just starting to get legs. I mean, it's only been in the market for a couple months now.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna have to go and get one because I do love a. We have three different coffee esque cigars in our portfolio, and our process is a little bit different in the you know, it's more like an infusion process than it is anything. But I've heard somebody was talking about your cigar the other day, and I was like, "Ooh, that's very intriguing. I want to go ahead and try that." So I think there's a shop near me here in PA that might have it. So I'm gonna go up tomorrow. I have to go anyway and visit them. So if they have it, I got to get one and try it, and I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
try it out. Let
I'm
me know
sure
what
it's
you think.
delicious. I will. Yeah, but you know, to your point about the expansion of the flavor, aromatic, whatever, it is interesting because you know that dynamic's changing fairly rapidly, and you know, I don't know if all the numbers and the demographics are out, but I think we're seeing a large uptick in female smoking in the past couple years,
yeah,
especially since COVID.
yeah,
So
1,000%.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, which is a beautiful thing. I think that's, you know, it's an imperative thing for us. I think it's going to help expand the industry massively. Toscan, I can tell you from the Toscano side, Tom, Toscanello does unbelievably for us. The Toscanello line does unbelievably for us. So, you know, we're really lucky to have what we have here. So, you know, it's always I'm glad to hear that other companies are doing the same in that sense, because yeah, you're right. You know, especially if those numbers are on point, like you're saying, if it's already 30%, you're 100% like, why wouldn't you? You know, it makes no sense.
It'd be like not having a Connecticut in the marketplace. You know,
that's
like
correct.
the mild to medium cigars make up such a big percentage. And, you know, I used to laugh because at Camacho, you know, Christian was always known for full body cigars, and Camacho, you know, we use the authentic Corojo tobacco, and, you know, Christian's MO was full body, and you know, I kept telling him, I said, dude, we need a Connecticut. You know, we had the back rat, which is the sweet cap, which we had done for a million years. But, you know, I'm like, dude, we need a Connecticut. And, you know, we launched a Connecticut right before he had sold the Davidoff. And I think now it's Camacho's #1 selling SKU. And, you know, because I always told her, I said, listen, you want to be known as the full body guy, or you want to sell cigars, man? Make us a Connecticut and we'll sell it. And it worked. I mean, it was a great blend. And so, you know, and I think it kind of goes the same direction with the aromatic or infused or flavored or whatever term we use for these cigars these days. But it's a real segment of the market now. And so, you know, we're seeing good growth in it, and they've been really positive products for our brands.
Well, it's interesting too, from my side. I always laugh because, you know, you go into these, because again, like I said, Toscanello for us is a huge part of our portfolio.
Yeah.
You know, so I always end the events that I have with a Toscanello. So it's always great to go in and you got the big burly guys that are in there. They're like, oh, I don't smoke anything with flavor. I want nothing to do with it. So I go up to them. Those are the ones that I attack, as I say. And I'm like, all right, well, here's the deal. Listen to me. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to buy this cigar for you. I'm buying you a cigar. Are you going to really turn down a free cigar from me? I'm paying for it. Take it, smoke it. If you hate it, you can throw it lit at me. Literally. I'm letting you do this. You can throw it lit at me. Okay? So then they'll sit there, and by the end of the night, they're like, holy shit, it's not what I thought it was. This is actually enjoyable. It's not, like you said, Tom, not something I'm going to smoke every day, but it's a really nice change of pace cigar. It's fresh.
Do I see a burn mark on your cheek?
I was going to say a lot of
there's 7 or 8. That's why I'm sitting back. You know.
No, man, it's just the red reflection from the Alec Bradley sign back there. I look like my blood pressure's up all the time when I see myself on the screen because I get the reflection off the screen.
That's funny.
So
but no, it really is true though. That's, you know, it's really something. So we have to, the consumer, the American consumer is starting to see too, like, you got to start thinking a little bit more outside the box when it comes to that.
Well, I think it's interesting too, like the dynamic that you guys are talking about, because, like, you know, Michael spends his days trying to talk or attack, as he was saying, people into trying to convince them, and Tom's sitting here thinking, man, I don't have a flavored cigar market, and I don't have a flavored cigar offering, and I need to fill that void in the portfolio because people are asking for it. So it's like people don't want to admit it, but then they do admit it, and it's just it's a real, man, that is a real funny back and forth that you guys have both experienced just on opposite sides.
Well, but for us, it's a double-edged sword, right, Bear? Because our cigars are smaller. Number one, they're weird looking, and we have, you know, what is it now? We have 8, 9 different Toscanelli. No, 6, 8, 7 different Toscanelli that have actual aromatic to them. So, you know, it's different than getting a cigar that's a 5x50, a 6x60. It's still a full cigar. You know what I mean? It looks like that cigar that people are used to smoking. So we have a double-edged sword for us. So it's always, you know, I finally get somebody to try an aromatic cigar, and then I hand them the Toscanello, and they're like, what the hell did you just give me? And I'm like, all right, just relax. Okay. Just take a breath here.
Well, I'm actually I just finished the Master Age, which was fantastic. You called it, Michael. I am gonna go ahead and light up the cool brew here. We're gonna go ahead and do this.
Oh, nice.
Now this is, like, we're to your point, Tom, about the different sizes that you offer. This is an unusual size. Is this what other
I think
sizes are you offering it in?
well, we do it in 4 sizes. We got the 50 by 5, the 54 by 6, 60 by 6, and we also do it in the 70 by 7 for our larger engaged guys.
That's a
Tom, maybe I'll buy
lot
the
of.
70 by 7 just to do it.
Yeah. Listen, just make sure you got a couple hours to relax, so
That's it.
you'll be good.
I'll do it. For you, I'm going to do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I am excited to try that because it is interesting for me to try the different aromatics and flavors that people have out there because, it's it's neat to see what's out there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
And from our standpoint too, from Toscano, like, and it should be like this for every company, to be honest with you, but it's not. But we don't compete with anybody. We're so different. Like we're not.
Yeah.
We're never going to take away sales from you. We're only adding to the retailers' bottom line. So, that's why I enjoy learning about different processes, learning about the manufacturing side of things from the other companies and stuff, and developing these relationships. Like I've heard about you 450 times. I honestly, before tonight, I don't know if we passed, I know who you actually.
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't be
don't
able
think
to pick you out.
we've never met in person, so
Yeah.
Nope.
I
So
I love
but
doing shows like this though, because there's been a handful of people that I've actually met when they were my guests for the first time.
yeah,
And I've done this twice. This has happened to me twice. I had George Rico from Gran Habano and Klaus Kellner when he was with Davidoff on a show together, and they had never met either. And that show was fantastic too. And like I think that this kind of dynamic
I
of a
mean, it
panel
wasn't
like
as good as this show, Bear.
No.
well, of course not.
No.
Yeah, but
All right,
absolutely. But yeah,
I just wanted to be clear. you
yeah,
know.
no, yeah, just for our,
Here.
for
Touche.
authenticity in the audience. Yeah, but I think what's like again, we kind of come back full circle to where kind of we started with cigars being family and everything. It really does have that familial feeling because like you may not have ever crossed paths like you said, but like we're all talking about the same thing. We're talking about cigars, and there's so much to cover. From experience to moments and practicality, sales technique, everything. It's all kind of
Processes, the
processes.
processes behind and everything. It's unbelievable. It's insane. And it's funny because like even as a manufacturer, and Tom, maybe you have the same sentiment that I do. Like, I sit here all the time when I talk about, I'm in the events and Bear has seen it. He's heard me talk about it. He knows that I love my product. I have passion behind it as you do. I can hear it in your voice when you're talking about the blend that you had. And I say all the time, I wish people understood what goes into the cigars, but I'm just as guilty as most consumers because, you go into a humidor and you pass right by the majority of the blends that are in there because there's so many, you just become so overwhelmed. But every cigar in that humidor has a story behind it, so it's I think in the industry as a whole, if we all of us just took a step back and realized that, it would kind of change the discussion and the vernacular, if you will, in my opinion. Again, I could be naive because I'm quote unquote newer to the industry, but I really think that there's a missed opportunity somewhere. I think in the industry where that we're missing that there we have the collaboration, but there could be a lot more collaboration if we had the opportunity and if we actually sat down and did these kind of conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there's hundreds and thousands of brands, that you can walk in, and there's tons of choices for the end consumer and for the retailer to bring in, and there's only so much space. And but we all have our niche in the marketplace, and there's so many good cigars today. It's
Yep.
there's a lot of people producing good cigars, and so it's nice to like you said, you said, you're so trained to grab a Toscano and smoke it, no different than I am today.
Right.
It's always at Asylum or CLE, and I smoke everything too. I have poker night. My friends come over and they bring different stuff, and we're always smoking different cigars, and obviously the
Absolutely.
relationships you build over the years with people who we've traveled with and run into, and whether it's the Rocky Patels and Nish and Nimish and those guys who I'm really close with, and or Pete Johnson, or they're always giving you something to smoke, and so it is nice when you really get to sit down and just smoke something different and taste the nuances of the different fermentation and different styles of making cigars. It really kind of you know it brings you back to why you're here
Yep.
in a sense, because we go out every day and we push our brands and we push our products, but and we believe in what we do. I think the biggest thing about selling is you have to believe in what you're doing and in the mission of your company, whatever that is. And I think that's something that, as our company, we've always believed in our mission, believed in our tobacco, and being a vertical company where we grow and we roll and we do every aspect of our cigars. If you have someone that doesn't believe in what you're doing, they're not going to do well.
Touche, but my friend, touche.
So
Absolutely.
wanted to bring back the conversation to one of the newest releases from Toscano. So Michael, you and I spoke at this year's trade show about
Yes.
Tom, I think you'll find this fascinating, because this is something that I know that you guys haven't done as a company yet, at least. And if I'm not aware, please forgive me. But I think there's a real, just to give you a free idea, but like, I think there's you mentioned how Asylum is this very versatile part of the CLE Iroa family portfolio. And I've grown a fondness for fire aged tobacco. I think there's times where it can be certainly overpowering. But there's something about it. There's something about a Toscano Antico, which is my favorite, that they make. And then there's something about like a KFC from Drew Estate, the Kentucky Fire Cured. Like, man, it's like it sounds good, and then there's a time where it's absolutely perfect and nothing hits the spot like it. And I think that there's a real space for this to it. So your newest release, Michael, that you guys came out with at this year's trade show, is the Italia, which
the Toscana Italia,
which is unique because normally you guys bring in a lot of tobacco from Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yep.
But this one was very special, and I'll let you kind of tell the story behind it.
Yeah, so the American tobacco that we have, the breakdown of tobacco is 70-30, Italy to the United States, give or take, and it also depends on the year itself, the harvest, etc. 5 regions in Italy: Veneto, Umbria, Toscana, Lazio, and Campania, and the majority of the Italian tobacco comes from Toscana, in particular Valteberina. So this particular blend of Toscano, the Italia, has both Valteberina tobacco and Benevento tobacco. The Benevento tobacco is very particular because it lies within the shadow of Mount Vesuvius. So after the eruption in 79 AD, the soil composition down there changed, and it actually produces a sweeter tobacco in comparison to that of the rest of the provinces where we harvest the tobacco. So the Toscano Italia itself is much lighter, a little bit of sweetness to the tobacco, a really nice first-time smoke for a person who's never smoked Toscano before. And obviously, because it's all Italian tobacco, it brings us right back to the roots of Sigaro Toscano being rolled in Italy, in Florence, etc. So this particular cigar, it's been fairly surprising. We only released, it was a limited edition. We only released 500 boxes, and I think they're nearly gone at this point. I don't know exactly how many we have left, but it's almost gone. We released it in March, and I don't know how many we have, but I think it's less than 80 now at this point. So it's pretty interesting to see that. So it's this particular cigar has helped us get on the map, I feel, in a lot of new accounts, because it's not a cigar like you were just talking about. Some people are afraid of the fire cure itself because it could be a little bit overpowering for somebody that's not used to it. The Toscano Italia is a nice bridge cigar for fire cure tobacco because it's lighter. In particular, the Italia itself has that sweetness because of the Benevento tobacco in it.
Now, Tom, I know you guys, the heart of your company is in Honduras, but and my memory is just a little foggy here. Have any of your Nicaraguan cigars had any tobacco from Ometepe in it?
We have not done anything with the Ometepe yet.
What Michael was just saying was really surprising to me, because like Ometepe is very polarizing because it's very strong. It has a very robust flavor, very, again, very polarizing, very spicy, peppery, just like in your face. But this other volcanic tobacco from halfway across the world produces a much more sweeter tobacco. So that's really, that's cool. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, what was it about this project, Michael, that you guys wanted to, why you wanted to feature? Was it just about taking it back to the roots a little bit, or was it just doing something entirely different? But,
So at Toscano, every year for PCA, we try to give the consumer something a little bit different. That's why last year we released the 3 Master Age. This year we did the Toscano Italia and the Master Age number 4. Italia itself, though, as a limited edition cigar, really was an opportunity. In my opinion, was more the throwback to Italy. It was bringing it back to the roots of where we're from, to really give people, like, even the design of the box. I wish I had one here. I did before. I don't know where the hell I put it, but it's a gorgeously designed box with the hills, the rolling hills of Tuscany on it. It really makes you feel as though you're you're part of the Italian hillside. Like when you open that box up and you sit down and you take the first puff, you close your eyes, you feel like you're in Italy again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really where we wanted to bring people. And again, it was a lighter cigar. It's a cigar that's very enjoyable for pretty much anybody who, because it's still a complex cigar. Even though it's lighter, it's still a complex cigar because of the tobacco, the fire cure, the water fermentation, etc. So it's really it's palatable for somebody who smokes a Maduro like Tom and myself, but it's also palatable for somebody who's not used to the fire cure and wants to bridge into the world of Cigaro Toscano fire cured tobacco.
Awesome. I kind of wanted to bring again, just bringing this conversation back to Father's Day and everything. These special cigars that are being released by each of your companies and everything kind of brings back to the point of why we're all here today, which is celebrating fathers and everything. I thought it'd be interesting, and Tom, I think we may have asked this question of you, but I wanted to ask it of Michael, but I had a different question for you that's sort of the same thing. But Michael, what was the first cigar that you smoked after Angelo was born?
So I had the Toscano Il Moro. I had one. It's the big cigar. From Toscano that we released. I had one that I think it was they started making them in 2000. It's not one of the ones that we had here in the United States. My cousin in Gubbio bought it for me. I think it was the 2006 edition or 2008. And I had it in my downstairs in my humidor, and I had to do that after Angelo was born.
Wow.
Finally, one of the first opportunities I had, I just sat out back one night, and my wife went to bed early, and I just sat by myself in all my glory, and just sat there and smoked a cigar with a really delicious bottle of Sagrantino di Montefalco wine, which is Umbrian wine, in honor of my grandfather and my great grandfather, who is Angelo's namesake.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I thought this would be a good transition question, but I thought this would be a nice spot to bring up to one of our special segments, which is, of course, our asylum moment. Refuge is more than just a physical place. It could be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars, so light up an asylum and choose your refuge. So, Michael, you just described this very special moment after Angelo was born. This very special cigar. I want to dig a little deeper here. I mean, like, what was really special about that cigar? Was it the flavor? Was it the moment? Is it how they both kind of merged together? Like, what was so memorable about that? Was it just the fact of what you were celebrating?
Yeah, I mean, Il Moro itself is a very special cigar. They only roll 1,000 of them a year. So that's number one. Number two, it's massive. For a Toscano, I don't even know the measurement on it. It's over a foot long, and it's like a 70 ring gauge in the middle. So that actually is one of the biggest cigars I've ever smoked. So I have to bring back my initial comment. I didn't smoke it this year. It was last year, but I forgot that I smoked the Il Moro. And then obviously in collaboration with the fact that I just birthed, well, I didn't birth, my wife birthed, our beautiful baby boy, whom, in the Italian household, having the firstborn son is always a beautiful thing. And him taking the namesake of my great grandfather, and Holly's, my wife's great uncle, who actually perished at a very young age. He went down when the USS Vincennes was hit by a torpedo in the Pacific during World War II.
Oh,
So he's the namesake to both of these gentlemen. Yes, Angelo Scacchini on my wife's side, and Angelo Cappellini, my great grandfather. So to be able to sit there and enjoy that wine, and by the way, both of them were from Umbria, which is amazing. You know, just to sit there in silence and drink, you know, a bottle of wine and have a cigar, that was so special for that moment really was something, you know. And then, you know, going in, my wife making me shower and wanting to kill me because I pretty much drank an entire bottle of wine by myself. But you know, I enjoyed the moment. I enjoyed the moment before I went in the house anyway. So.
you're like, Holly, I mean, how many firstborn sons are there ever going to be? So there you
That's
go.
correct. That's
Exactly.
correct. She didn't buy it though, Bear. It wasn't as, you know, it wasn't as
Should have called me
biggest
up. I
selling
would have
point
sold.
as I thought it
I
would
would
be.
have sold it for you. It would have been fine.
I tried. You know, I should have. I needed some backup.
Tom, I know we asked this question of you, you know, a couple of years ago, but I wanted to turn a little bit to, you know, now with your kids being older, what was the first cigar that you shared with them? Have you? Because I believe you have.
Oh
Shared a
yeah.
cigar with them. What was the what was the first one that you shared with them, if you can recall, and tell us a
Yeah,
little bit
I
about
mean,
them.
it's funny. My older son, you know, he would have one here and there, but now he smokes on a regular basis. Like him and his guys from work leave, they go to the cigar shop. They have meetings in cigar shops, and they smoke all the time now. And you know, they just went down to Miami on vacation for a week. Went into the office, raided the office, and grabbed a couple boxes, 2 or 3 boxes of cigars, and you know, sat outside in Miami and went to the beach and smoked cigars. But you know, with my youngest son, it was just he never really smoked anything, and then you know, um, his first one was an Insidious, you know, just our sweet cap, mild Connecticut cigar, and you know, it made him sick still, you know. He didn't make it through the experience, but he's really kind of formed into a cigar smoker, and he's actually started to enjoy having a pipe once in a while. And there's a pretty, you know, he goes to a small school called Hillsdale College, and there's a good cigar culture there. A lot of his professors partake, and they enjoy a nice cigar with him once in a while. And so
Nice.
he's definitely kind of caught on to it, and enjoys the cigar now too. So it's nice when the boys, we all get together, and we had a great time during the playoff run for the Lions, and Michigan was you know, in the uh, playoff and winning football game. So they would come over for every game, and whether it was the Michigan game or the Lions playoff games, and we'd watch the games together, and smoke cigars. And you know, we had a pretty good run. We did a lot of winning this year, so which is rare for us in the NFL realm.
I that had to be a lot of really special just to share with your boys, especially since you you know, during, and I'm not trying to rub salt in the wound here, Tom, but during their lifetime, you know, they didn't get to see that a lot, and they, you know, you've been a lifelong fan, so like it, you know,
During their lifetime, Bear, what are you talking about? During my lifetime,
well, that okay,
we
fair enough, but
the Lions had won one playoff game my entire life. So this year we got 2 wins. So we you know, it was no, it was fun, man. I mean, we had such a good time with it. And with Michigan, you know, in college football, winning and winning the national title, we had an absolute blast together, man. We were jumping and running around, and yelling and screaming, and it was a lot of fun.
that's awesome.
I am happy you enjoyed that moment with your sons, but I'm a Nittany Lion, so we'll just leave it at that.
You know, you guys are close, man. You know,
Sucks, man.
yeah.
Sucks.
I mean, I haven't got over the hump, but you know, they're competitive. They play good defense, and one day, obviously they'll get there at some point. I don't know if it's going to be
It
this
just
year.
drives us nuts. It drives us nuts every year. And you know what's crazy, Tom? With Michigan, it's either we beat you guys badly, you beat us badly, or the game's like this.
Yeah.
And then Ohio State, it's like this every year with us, minus 1 year.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, you have no idea how much the fact that I haven't died of cardiac arrest yet in during college football over the past 7 years is astonishing. It's astonishing. But I'll just leave that at that.
So, I kind of to morph the Asylum moment into, we talk about sharing cigars or enjoying a cigar to celebrate a moment and stuff like that. Like, what is, Michael, what's something that you are looking, is it your love for the Nittany Lions, or what things are you really looking forward to as he begins to grow up that you're really excited to share with him, in moments and stuff? Like, what are some things?
I mean, you mean outside of cigar smoking?
Yeah, of course.
I I already shared one this year with him. I don't know, you follow me on Facebook and Instagram. You see that holiday that we celebrate in May where we dressed in those things.
Yeah,
To
I was
my
hoping you were
son
going to bring
part
this
of
up. Yeah, this is cool.
yeah, to have my son part of the Festa dei Ceti is huge because it's a generational festival. So to have him part of that for me is just one of the biggest things that I can possibly ask for in my life, because my great grandfather did it, my grandfather did it, my father did it, I did it, now Angelo did it. This is 5 generations of Cappellinis here in the United States, and there was 5 generations before that in Italy that did it. So it's really something awesome. Then yeah, on top of that, I mean, hopefully he follows in Dad's footsteps and becomes a diehard Penn State fan. If he becomes a Michigan or Ohio State fan, I might have to burn the house down, but that's a whole other discussion. And honestly, I just hope one day, kidding aside everything, I can sit with him after he graduates from wherever he goes from college, and we can just celebrate his amazing success, and just want the kid to be happy for the rest of his life and be a game changer. I want him to change the world one day for good. That's all I can. That's what I look forward to in life. That's what I want to see my boy do. Change the world for good.
Tom, with your kids being older and everything, if you can remember, I know you've slept since then, but like, what were my kids are kind of in the middle, right? Like, I have an 8 and a 4-year-old. Your kids are bordering on adulthood. We have another father who's just kind of entered into this fraternity that we talked about. But going back to when your kids were our age or younger, like, what were some of your hopes and dreams for them? Like, what did you think about when you thought about their future and the moments that you would share?
I think what you always want is for your kids to be more successful than you, right? To learn from you, and whatever that success is. It doesn't necessarily mean financial. It just means to find their place, where they're comfortable, where they're doing something that they get up every day and they love to do it, so it's never work for them. It's like for me, I'm so blessed to be in this business, from a gringo from Detroit. People always ask how a guy, ends up in the cigar business, and um, you know, and again, when I came into the cigar business as a sales rep, I didn't have a dream of having my own brand or anything like that. It just kind of grew into that, and Christian gave me that opportunity, and we've made it grow from there. But with my children, it's always, I've never tried to push them in a direction per se. Obviously, as a sports fan, you watch your team, and uh, you know whether they played sports, and my older son was really into the sports. My younger son, probably around 5th grade, said, "Dad, I don't really like football anymore. I don't want to play baseball. I want to sing. I want to act. I want to do different things." And he just immersed himself into it, like, and really learned. And so, the rewarding thing, I think, as they're young, you see them make these steps, right? Whether it's their first steps, literally walking, or graduating from grade school and moving on to middle school and then to high school and these things. But now it's seeing them take the lessons that you've given them and form their own true opinions on life and their own belief systems, and translate that into being good human beings, and going out and creating that work ethic and developing their careers and seeing them kind of or pick their direction and working at something. So it's really rewarding to when you sit back now, and my older son he's in the mortgage business now, and he'll call, Dad, I need some sales advice. What's your advice? And so to be able to share kind of my knowledge with them, and them trying to incorporate things that I've learned, and them incorporate them into their life to be better salespeople or better students, or whatever spot they're in, is really the reward today, right? Because as they're older, they don't want. It's not that they don't want to spend time with you, but they have their lives now, right? They have their friends, a girlfriend, a job, their school, and so the time you have with them isn't there. It's like you see each other when you have those opportunities, and you miss your kids a lot now, right? Like you think back to you miss those days when they were just little kids, and they're forming their temperament, right? Or their humor, or every part of them. You miss when you get to this stage, and you miss when they were just a little 4 or 5 year old running around and playing in the dirt and hurting themselves and coming in, and you have to comfort them. Now you comfort them a different way. It's it just changes, but it never stops. Um, their needs are different, but they still need you. And whether it's just a phone call or a text, uh, it still feels good when you hear from them, and you miss them more and more, uh, every day, because you see that transition, and now you start to understand what your parents went through, when you moved out and started developing a career and having your own family, and you kind of see, uh, what my dad goes through, you know what I mean? Because he's always, hey, I haven't heard from you. My dad always texts me. I miss you. I love you, son. Give me a call when you have a chance. I know you're on the road somewhere, but, um, so it's that same thing with my kids now, right? I'm traveling and they're out living their lives and building their careers and education, and but they always need you. It's always great when they do call and ask for your advice and what to do, whether it's in relationships or work or just in general. It's
You're
just
killing Tom. You're killing me. I'm over here holding back tears just listening
yeah,
about all
man.
this
I
stuff.
I I I feel like I'm gonna turn into Ricky Rodriguez and start crying here. I laugh because he, me and Ricky, with his new company, he's out there traveling a lot, being a road warrior too, and we've done a number of events together over the last years, and Ricky gets all emotional and cries, and I said, Ricky, listen, bro, I'm not going after you anymore. I'm going before you. How am I supposed to follow that up? But
Yeah,
he's passionate about what he does, and I joke with him about it. And but it really is, man. And my advice to both of you guys and anybody out there is, it goes by faster and faster. Every year they get older, that time goes by faster, and all I can say is enjoy every moment of it,
Yeah.
man. Like, because it truly is the most rewarding thing you can do, man. Is
yeah.
to watch your kids grow and become young men or women, and develop into their own persons with their own ideals and thoughts of how they can, like I said, make the world a better place.
I'm with you. I'm with
I,
you.
th- I think
And as long
that
as they're healthy, that's the biggest thing. Their
yes,
health is
Yeah.
that's huge.
yeah.
That's huge.
I
That's
think
huge.
the moments become more, they definitely become more fleeting and I can see that going to, just over our conversations over the last few years, Tom, because I remember you talking, about the first time we had these conversations, you were talking about your youngest who was into acting and stuff, and you were like talking about how, like, man, I was just at one of his performances and everything, and just how great it was, and I bet you look back at that and be like, man, like, I would give anything to go back to that. And I think that's, Michael, if that's one thing in the almost 9 years that I've been a father, is like, if I there's moments that I wish I could always go back to repeat, not necessarily as like in regret, but more just to experience again. Like, and you hopefully you'll have some more opportunities. I doubt you'll be one and done as far as kids are concerned, but that's one of the things that I look back on, which is great. It's just those moments just to kind of repeat. But I mean, as they're getting older, that I can imagine that becomes more fleeting, as Tom's kind of describing and stuff, but still just as impactful, still just as important.
Yeah, it's some days it gives you a sad feeling, you know what I mean? But it's that's more of the self. It's more of your own personal sadness, you know what I mean? Because the reward far outweighs it, but you do miss those times, man. You know, and we talk about like a work-life balance, and all I can say to you guys and anybody out there is make the time, man, because you can never get it back. You can never get it back. Everything you miss is gone.
I just hope that Angelo has the same relationship that I have with my father, and on top of that I have with my grandparents. I mean, my day starts every morning calling my grandmother at 6 o'clock in the morning and talking to her. And then my grandfather, unfortunately, has dementia, but I'll talk to him if he's awake. And then I call my mom and my dad. And then, that's every day, so I just hope that, Angelo learns those, and my wife's the same way with her family. So hopefully that continues down the bloodline, because it's a beautiful thing to have a close knit family like that. And I know not everybody's blessed in that. I understand that completely.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's something really unique, Michael. That I think that I mean, I certainly can't relate to that. My grandparents unfortunately are long gone. My father is I think I've talked to both you guys about this. My audience certainly knows about it. He's also going through dementia and everything like that. Just celebrated his 80th birthday in the hospital, which was
not awesome.
No, he was actually having a really great day. They took him out to lunch for his birthday, and unrelated to what he's experiencing going through, he broke his hip and he fell. But he kind of even joked about it. He's like, I had a great meal though. He still ate the lunch.
At least he's got a good sense of humor, the guy. God bless him.
Like, my father definitely had one of the most boisterous sense of humors, still does. And it's like you said, I think what you experience, Michael, on a day-to-day basis is so unique still. Like that, it wasn't always that way. I think, it's, our history is kind of morphed into what we consider more traditional. What we look as you is a little bit more old school, but that's something that Angelo will get to experience. And I think that, since that is a priority for you and Holly, I think that will be something that he has, is a close relationship with you and his grandfather, etc. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he lights up when he sees all his grandparents, and that just makes my heart happy. So that's that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, but life is life, man.
That's a great tradition in a sense, right? Because I look at, unfortunately, none of my grandparents are still with us, but you kind of watch the traditions fall away. My dad's mother was kind of the patriarch and put together the holidays, and aunts and uncles and cousins and everyone would get together, and as they passed on, in today's world, you have a lot of working families, and my cousins, and we don't get to see each other that much anymore. But that kind of glue that held it together isn't there anymore. So to keep those things going is very important, man, and do it
Yep.
as long as you can,
great.
and they'll do it too. And I've been fortunate, like I said, both my children's, my mom and dad, and my ex-wife, her parents are still very active with our kids and spend a lot of time. And
That's awesome.
my
Mhm.
son comes home from school and he goes right to grandma and grandpa's and hangs out and spends time with them, and he calls them all the time. And
Well
so,
done.
but I think it's a big part of uh, forming your children, and having that extra layer of knowledge and advice and love and caring around them. It really helps them develop into good people. And
Agreed.
for those who don't have it, unfortunately, I know it's got to be a tougher battle, but to have that extra support system and people with their best interest in mind is always a great thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, listen, we're blessed. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So.
I one of the things I noted, obviously, before I brought you guys on and we started tonight's conversation and show, is that obviously we're blessed with sons, and I know we would have been blessed if we had had daughters too. But
Oh yeah.
I think there's something inherent about, and please feel free to disagree with you. I wanted to get y'all's opinion. I mean, did you all want sons? Was that very much a part of it? Like I don't. I remember thinking, I was like, I want a healthy child. That was my first child, but man, it would be great if it was a son. Like, just to get it out of the way. I wanted at least one boy. I ended up with two, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
And who knows what the future holds, but on that, but like that was really wonderful for me.
I
I mean,
think it's
listen.
a natural instinct, right, Michael? Like
Yeah.
you want to
Exactly.
pass your name and your heritage and all those things. So uh, I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot of good friends that have girls and boys, and you definitely see uh, the difference between boys and girls and the dynamic of the relationships of daddy's little girl and those things. And unfortunately, I didn't get to experience that because I just procreated and I just make boys, so but yeah, I mean, as a man, obviously I wanted boys, and again, your first thought is always to just healthy, right? Like their health and them being good, and your wife getting through the pregnancy healthy and good, and all those things. But you know, underlying all of it, at the bottom of our hearts, there is definitely that spot that says, "Yeah, this better be a boy,"
I don't need to add anything. I think that was well said. I
I
think that was well said.
just interesting though, because I thought what I found is really unique about this, because my son's mother was very much wanted a girl, and then she also said, she's like, I've got this boy thing down. So when we had our second and it was a boy, she actually wasn't disappointed. Um, Tom, with your ex-wife, was she wanting a girl? Was she or was she the quintessential boy mom? Like, how did she feel about that?
Well, she wanted four boys and one girl. She wanted a basketball team. She wanted
Wow.
five, but after unfortunately, we miscarried our first child, which was a boy. Like at 11 weeks, 12 weeks. And then after we got two, she's like, "No, I'm good. I'm good right here at two." So
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
after the reality set in of birthing and raising children, I think she was okay with two.
Yeah.
What about Holly Bug? Was she hoping for a girl? Did she want a boy like you? Was there, or was it just that I want the healthy child with the
No, I
first one?
mean both of us said we just want the healthy child. I mean, like Tom was saying, I mean, ultimately for me, the only thing that I thought about was, oh God, I mean, it'll relieve a lot of stress on me if it is a boy, just because now my namesake continues, because I'm the last heir to the Cappellini name here in the United States. So if I didn't have a boy, there's no continuation of the name. But if I had a girl, yeah, now if we do try for a second, I would love to have a girl at this point. Holly didn't care, but she thought it was going to be a girl. She said, "Oh, I'm telling you it's a girl." And I'm like, there's no way it's a girl. I'm telling you right now that I could feel the kid kicking right now. That's a boy soccer player right there. He's going to come out. He's ready. He's ready to kill people on the soccer field. I'm telling you right now, he's ready. And when he came out, I'll never forget. So she had an emergency C-section after about 11, I think it was 11 hours of labor. And the doctor picks up the baby, and I'm crying hysterically. And Holly's like, "Well, what is it?" And I'm like, "It's a baby." And she's like, "Yeah, no shit. What is it?"
Oh, you guys didn't know? You guys didn't do anything
No,
for you? Oh, you guys wanted
no.
a surprise. Oh, that's
We
awesome.
wanted a surprise. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's really the only surprise you're ever given in life is that. So we were like, "Yeah, let's do it for the first one." Now for the second one, we're gonna want to know if we're blessed with the second one. If we decide to have a second one, we want to know, right from the get go. So
that's so cool. I was convinced the first one was something in the back of my head thought it was a boy, but I really thought it was going to be a girl. I thought he was going to be a girl. I knew the second one was a boy. And in fact, my oldest son knew it was going to be a boy.
how about that?
He knew that his mom was pregnant before she did. He just randomly started talking about it one day. He's like, "There's a baby in there."
Wow.
And started telling everybody at his school and everybody that would listen, because kids love to talk, especially when they're that age. So like, and yeah, he knew. It was crazy. It was
That's
like one of those
awesome.
things. Yeah, it's really one of my favorite memories. It's just like, yeah,
That is so cool.
He knew about the pregnancy before, and he's like, and that's a boy. It's a baby. And then when we found out it was a boy, he was for like the 2 days before, he'd been saying it was going to be a brother, and then 2 days before, he switched to wanting it to be a sister. And then when we told him so, he was a little disappointed, but then he kind of got over it. So
nothing you can do at that point.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, again, thank you so much for the conversation tonight. We've got a few more questions before we call it an evening and then put this Father's Day to bed, so to speak. But again, thank you so much for honoring me with another Father's Day show, Tom, and for joining us on your first official Father's Day, Michael. It was fantastic. So thank you so much.
Pleasure's mine, guys. It was a lot of fun, and honestly, the conversation was wonderful. Thank you for having me as part of this. And Barry, you and I have developed a great relationship. Thanks for what you do for the industry and for always being such a good friend to me. And Tom, it's been great to get to know you via, Zoom. Hopefully in the near future, we're able to sit down and actually have a cigar together.
Yeah,
back to
I
like
look
the
forward
COVID
to that
days.
day.
Back to like the COVID days where you guys were meeting on.
Oh God, honest to God.
So, but in the spirit of sons, we're going to talk this tonight's presidential trivia segment is brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, the Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Atabey Byron, and now Alfonso lines from Selected Tobacco. Smoke one today and start living united. So on the spirit of sons, I thought this would be fun, just because I thought this was an interesting tidbit of information. I have two sons. Tom has two sons. So Michael, it was more relating to us two, but James Madison was the very first president to have only two sons. So, but we would go over 100 years before another president had only two sons. And then we had two presidents back to back who only had two sons. So who were those two presidents? Was it A, Calvin Coolidge and Herbert Hoover, B, Howard Taft and Woodrow Wilson, C, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Harry Truman, or D, Teddy Roosevelt and William Howard Taft?
You go first, Michael, because I have no clue.
I don't really either.
I am gonna go with D, Roosevelt and Taft. I believe is
Yeah. Okay. You want to take a guess?
What
Michael?
was B? What was B?
B was William Howard Taft and Woodrow Wilson.
I'm gonna go B.
All right. It was actually A, Calvin Coolidge and Herbert Hoover. So yeah, over 100 years of history, I mean, a lot of the first presidents, obviously, well, George Washington famously had no children, but they raised a lot of children. Him and Martha Washington actually raised a lot of children. But a lot of the first presidents had a lot of kids, and this was all pretty much through the 1800s, where you're like having 5 or 6 children, mixtures of sons and daughters. Obviously, a lot of adoptions I found, which was really interesting.
Probably because they were mistresses and they just decided to adopt them.
Yeah, there's probably some of that. And then of course
they were mostly farmers, right? So they raised big families to work the farms and things like that, right?
Yeah. Another one, he's been a subject of much, well, I think he's one of the most interesting people, even though he was a terrible human being, Andrew Jackson. But him and his wife Rachel served as guardians to 8 children. 8 children, yeah.
Wow.
And he was very much a George Foreman person, because like 3 of the adopted kids carried his name. They were Andrew Jackson, whoever, like it was, it was interesting. And then, but he had 2 daughters that were both named Eliza too. So Andrew Jackson wasn't very much on originality. So he was very much a George Foreman type of person when it came to naming kids, which was interesting.
Lovely.
But yeah, no, Herbert Hoover and Calvin Coolidge were the 2. And in fact, they were the only 2. So there's only been 3 presidents that have had just 2 sons. So James Madison, Herbert Hoover, and Calvin Coolidge. But and there's only been a few, like William and Ida McKinley actually had 2. They had 2 kids, but both died in infancy. Unfortunately, God bless. That was terrible, I'm sure. But there's only been 1 president who's had a child who's had just 1, and that was Bill and Hillary Clinton.
I was just gonna say Bill and Hillary with Chelsea. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
the only one. So
interesting.
That's had a single child, which is crazy. But
interesting.
Was there any Tom? I know your son's names, but and Michael, was there any thought, because one of obviously Calvin's kids was named after him, as Calvin Coolidge Jr. was born in 1908. But was there any thought to carry on? You guys talked about carrying on the family name, but was there any thought to carrying on the father name?
No,
Michael or Tom.
No, in my side, no. I'm named after both my grandfathers, Michael Philip, Michele Filippo. But we decided to go away from that, and we wanted to go back a little bit. And Holly and I both, I mean, you can tell I'm an old soul, and so is my wife. So we wanted to go a little bit more antiquated name, but one that's still kind of a cool name. So we went with Angelo. And Angelo Luca. I actually wanted the name to be Luca Angelo, but then Angelo Luca just sounded better, and we went with Angelo Luca. Yeah.
That's a cool middle name. What about you, Tom? Was there any thought to passing on the entire name?
There was, because I'm a second, and but my wife said no. No, and
that was that. And that was that.
The funny part is, it was really because when we first got married and we bought our first home, we went to do the paperwork to get the home, and all of a sudden, everything my dad ever did was on my credit report. So I'm there, and they're like, "Hey, what was this in 1977?" And I'm like, I was
when I was 2,
I was 6 years old. That obviously isn't mine. So it's funny because every time my dad gets a loan or I get a loan or do something, it's always, our credit's always mixed. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
gosh,
that's why we decided against it. And so Cameron, his middle name is Thomas, so he got my middle name, and Nolan is Nolan Anthony after his grandfather on his mother's side. So
neat.
Yeah, so we kind of split the difference. We got my name in there a little bit. I got 2/3 of it. I got the middle and the last name, but I couldn't sell all 3.
Yeah.
What I find is interesting, and then as I kind of comb back through history, I actually found it's actually very historical, but I haven't really been very fond of the trend where they'll name I'll just use your son's name as an example, Michael. They'll name their child Angelo Luca, and they're like, but we're gonna call him Buddy.
Yeah, no.
And then like,
Nope.
or something like that, or like, or we'll call him Luca. Like, well, why didn't you just name him Luca?
Right.
Like, so but that's actually very historical. I haven't really been fond of the trend. Like, I'm like, no, I named my oldest son Jeremiah, and they're like, oh, are you gonna call him Jerry or something? I'm like, no,
Nope.
his name's Jeremiah. That's what and he does that. It's really funny. Like, we never really kind of impressed that upon him, but like, there were some of his teachers very early on in his when he was younger who were like, who would shorten his name sometimes, and he'd be like, no, my name's Jeremiah. Like, and he had a very he was very proud of it, which was really cool to see. But it's actually historical, very like a lot of, as I was coming through a lot of the children for presidents, and of course European royalty did this too, where Queen Elizabeth's father was King George, but that was like a middle name, like one of his 4 middle names or whatever. Everyone knew him by his family nickname, or and his brother as well too went by David, but he was not king. He was not King David. He was something else. So like it's really really fascinating how people have, it's actually historical. Like, a lot of the president's kids and stuff, like, they're like, oh, they like John and Abigail Adams, their first child was a daughter. They named her after Abigail, but they called her something else. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. Did any of your sons have nicknames kind of growing up, Tom, or did they always go by their names?
Yeah, I mean, Nolan was always, there's no really second name for Nolan, right? It's just Nolan, right? But Cam, they shorten it to Cam all the time, right? So we call him Cameron, call him Cam, but that's pretty much it. I laugh because it was funny when he was born. He was our first son, right? So when he started to be able to talk, he would call me Tom instead of Dad, right? And he was like, Tom, maybe yell at Tom, and everyone be like, look at around and go, what? Doesn't that bother you that he doesn't call you Dad? I said, call me Dad. Like, everybody around me calls me Tom, so he just says Tom because until he was calling me Dad. My second son heard him calling me Dad all the time, so it was easier. But my first son was just like, Tom. Hey, Tom.
That's great.
That's
great.
That's
great.
So, yeah, it was pretty amusing.
That's funny. So, just a couple more questions tonight, guys. That was our presidential trivia segment. I know we got a little off topic, but it's still a lot of fun. And this next segment is brought to you by Postania Cigars. Everybody eats. If you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Postania Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Postania, everybody eats. Now, obviously, this question might be a little bit answered a little bit different by Michael, who's only had a son for a year. But Tom, this might be a little bit different for you. I thought this would be a fun question. What's a memorable meal that you can remember sharing with your children or child? Obviously, at a year old, I'm sure he's just still eating like bananas and stuff and everything, Michael. But what was it? Might have been all. I'm not trying to answer the question for you, but maybe it was his first holiday or something, meal or something like that. But what was a meal that you guys remember enjoying with your children that stands out?
Oh, I gotta think about that one a little bit. Never really thought of it that way, but oh, geez, I think as a kid, when they're really little, like I said, they're so picky about what they eat. They don't really, they just like to eat the same thing over and over again. Chicken nuggets or whatever it is, right? They get pizza, whatever you get, but I think the thing that stands out most to me is it's actually dessert, and it's creme brulee. My kids love it, so we make it. My son's like, he came over one day and is like, Dad, let's make creme brulee. And I had never made it before. So we went and got all the stuff. And now it's one of the things we do when
Nice.
they're in town. We sit back and we're like, all right, let's make creme brulee tonight. So we'll make that together. So I don't think there's a specific meal, but if there's something that sticks in my head, it's the creme brulee, man. It's just something we all said, let's start making it. Let's learn. And it's actually really easy. I was surprised. It's a pretty easy and
just a custard. And thank God Dad's in the cigar business, because we have torch sliders all over the house.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For us, I mean, you're talking about traditions and keeping everything going. For Christmas and Easter, we make homemade cappellini and ravioli. And I'll never forget the first time Angelo had, cappellini for Christmas. He just went crazy over them. We put it in a little blender. My mother blended them up for him, and he ate them. He went ballistic for them. So I'll never forget that face. It made me a very happy Italian when he did that.
For those uninformed, tell us a little bit about that dish, Michael.
So cappellini, they're like a cappellini is a small little hat. That's literally the translation. And it's a piece of pasta that you put a little ball of meat in, and you fold it a certain way that it makes it look like a hat. And you can either have it in red sauce or broth. So he had it in red sauce that day. And then ravioli it's a similar thing. Right. It's more like a dumpling, but it's a bigger ball of meat, and you just fold over the pasta. It's homemade pasta, and you fold over, and then you pinch the sides, and you close it, and you boil them. And then once they raise to the top, they're cooked. You take them out, and you put your homemade sauce on that you cook in the same day, right on top of it. Phenomenal.
Nice. I love ravioli. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
The other one, cappellini.
Yeah.
Is it similar to tortellini, or is that kind of tortellini of the bastardization of it?
No, it's not a bastardization. It's a similar type, but it's just the way the pasta's folded is different. So there's more of it's a better ratio of pasta to meat in the cappellini, because the tortellini is just folded and then you pinch the side, where the cappellini, you fold over the pasta, then you kind of push the bottom through the top to make it look like a little hat, like a little sailor's hat. So there's more pasta to meat ratio.
Nice.
And it kind of holds the sauce in the little top of the hat, like the little brim. It kind of holds the sauce in it,
there you go.
Or the broth. Yeah.
Oof, I like that. So are you more of, is that also kind of a sacrilegious question? Is your family more of a red sauce family, or is it more different other sauces?
Oh no, it's red. It's red.
Oh, is that like an inflammatory question? Like, how dare I ask that?
No, because I like a vodka sauce if it's made right. But my nonna never made vodka sauce. She's probably rolling in her grave hearing me say that. But it is what it is. But yeah, no. I mean, I love making meat. In fact, this weekend, I'm gonna make a nice big pot of red sauce. We're getting a massive heat wave starting tomorrow. It's gonna be like 99 in Scranton, which is unheard of. So I'm not gonna be cooking this week. I have a lot of work to do anyway, but this weekend it's going to cool down a little bit. So, if you're ever in Scranton, guys, let me know. I'll take some out of the freezer and I'll make you some good cappellini and in red sauce.
Let's do it.
Now, Michael, you use your hands a lot. I figured you should have busted his balls a little bit there. You shouldn't have let him get away with that.
Listen. Off air, I'll bust them as much as I want to. On air, I gotta,
I think I have no Italian heritage whatsoever. At least I'm not aware of. But I love the Sunday sauce tradition. Like, I think that's really cool. That's
awesome.
It's like a glue that kind of holds the week together and everything. I think that's one of a great tradition that a lot of Italian families have, which is great. This kind of just leads us into our last question for the night, guys. And so again, I can't thank you enough for your time. And I hope you guys have had a wonderful Father's Day. I know a lot of it was spent traveling, but I know for the brief moments that you had with your sons, I hope it was one to remember in one way, form, or fashion. So
I just feel bad for the girl that was sitting next to me on the plane, because the little bit that I slept, I kept falling asleep and I kept dreaming I dropped my coffee. So every 20 minutes I would jump and she'd be like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, I thought I dropped my coffee on you. She goes, no, trust me. She's like, I'll kill you if you do that. And I was like, well, hi, I'm Michael. Please don't kill me. I'm going home to see my son shortly, so don't do that for me.
That happened on the last plane ride that I was on. I fell asleep and I thought I dropped something or something, and I
Yeah.
jumped and I kind of grabbed, and
Yeah.
I grazed the woman next to me, her forehead, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I just like woke up. She's like, no, she's like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm fine. I thought I dropped something. Like I was dreaming that I dropped something on you. And she's like, nope, well, I'm good. And I'm like, okay, great, awesome. So she was really understanding. But yeah, it was really, really surreal, weird, bizarre feeling. So yeah, I empathize with you, Michael. That's not comfortable.
No, it was very awkward, and it happened like 2 times too. So
I can fall asleep anywhere.
It was the second times where she turns to me. She goes, "I'm pretty sure you have Tourette's, dude."
Oh, can you fall asleep on planes, Tom? Or
no.
I know you can, Michael, but Tom, what about you?
Sometimes I do, but not very often. I might get a little quick cat nap, like a 10-minute where I doze off, but I don't sleep very long. I've got, here's a funny story. And this one, I forget, I was coming back from the trade show one year, right? And let's just say the last night was one of those hard going long 5 a.m. nights, and basically get back to the room, shower, and right to the plane ride. And so I remember I'm flying back, and I started kind of getting that heated feeling, right, where I felt like, oh geez, I think I might hurl on the plane here, right? So I tapped the guy next to me. I said, hey, you mind, I'm gonna go to the restroom. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So the next thing I remember, I just kind of sitting there, and one of the flight attendants comes over, and they're like, hey sir, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. She's like, would you like some water? I said, yeah. So she leaves and comes back, and the guy sits back down, and I look at him. I said, hey, what just happened? And he goes, well, you asked to get up to go to the bathroom. I got up, and then you just passed out into the seat in front of me. He's like, I thought you died. And I said, oh shit, no, I'm alive. I'm all right.
Oh damn.
I
Man.
woke up, and I was just like, I had no idea. I literally woke up. The flight attendant's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, what do you? And I felt fine the rest of the flight. I got a little water. I was good, but the guy thought I croaked next to him.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, that's crazy.
And this is why I don't drink anymore, Bear.
There you go. That'll do
it. Oh goodness. Well, that'll lead us to the last question of the night, which is our as always, is our Dunbar Tobacco and Trust curveball segment. Fastballs are curveballs. It doesn't matter since the company's inception. Steve Saka's been knocking them out of the park. 9 consecutive years in the consensus top 3. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka. So, again, because it's Father's Day, I thought this would be an interesting question to maybe but a little bit tricky, because I was thinking about this and I couldn't necessarily remember too many, but I wanted to say, what would be a Father's Day as a son that you could go back and relive, and why would you pick that particular year or particular moment or that particular Father's Day, and what made it so special?
Wow. It's funny. You come up with these questions, Bear, and I got to think about them. And it's probably I'll come up with something better later than I do now. But I think
That's
really
what makes the curveball, though.
Yeah. I think the ones that stand out to me the most is because unfortunately, my grandfather on my mother's side passed away when I was 10 in 1981. But we had a lot of great experiences, and they lived up in the thumb in about halfway up Michigan in a little town called Caseville on Lake Huron. And we'd drive up there, and spend time with my grandfather, and he always took me fishing. He's the one who really got me in the outdoors and that stuff. And you know, my dad and myself and my grandfather, and usually, you know, one of my uncles, my mom's brothers, would go fishing, and you know, so it's a moment that I can think of. It would just be out fishing when my grandfather was still with us, and with my dad, you know.
Awesome.
Yep.
Clearly, the outdoors didn't
Two-
stick with you, Tom, as we see the taxidermy behind you.
I was just literally about to say the same thing.
Yeah, I have a problem.
Or a solution, Tom. A solution.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
For me, probably. I mean, there's again fortunate to have had quite a few good Father's Days, but probably 2016 because that was the last year that my nono was well. My pop was well. My father wasn't sick at that point either. So we were all together, and then you know, it was one of the last years where everything was really good. And I remember it was we had a dinner at my grandparents' house. They have an in-ground pool, and everybody came over, and we just had a great, you know, just a great day together. It started early morning, and it ended up all our cousins came in from Connecticut that weekend, and we just played flip cup. My 90-some-year-old grandfather at that point was playing flip cup, and it was just freaking hilarious. It was awesome. So that's probably one of my best memories. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
So
gentlemen,
hopefully we'll create many more.
exactly. Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for tonight. This is always really special for me. And you know, Tom, you like I said, you agree to come on every year, and you continue to make it special. And Michael, to have you on this year just to kind of share this moment with you, and really meant a lot to me personally too. So thank you both for your time tonight.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So really appreciate all of our audience for staying up late with us as always. And if you're tuning in to us later, whether that be on our YouTube channel, which is ELOsoFumar, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you can always catch all of our shows live every Sunday night, 9:30 p.m. Central is our start time, except for tonight where we started a little bit late. But we really do appreciate all of those likes, shares, and comments. Please keep them coming. If you are tuning in later on where you listen to us on podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure you just download, subscribe, and review. And tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. And if you are going to leave a review, leave the review. So for the guy out there who gave me a 1-star review on Apple Podcasts, that does nothing for me. I understand that you think I suck. That's great. But just tell me why next time, and that way I can get better. Okay? So for everyone else out there that was celebrating a Father's Day, we hope that you have a fantastic one, and continue to celebrate for the next few minutes before it's no longer Father's Day. But for the rest of the 365 days of the year, know that it is one of my personal great blessings to be called a father. And I know it same rings true for my two guests tonight, Michael Cappellini of Toscano Cigars, and of course Tom Lazuka of Asylum Cigars. So without further ado, everybody, I'm Bear Duplessis, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. This was our 294th take on the road to 300. Guess what, everybody? See you next time.